Hello, I'm Sarah, and welcome to the special Season of the Witch Reddit episode. I've got 5 spooky stories to share today, all about witches. Are you ready for the first story? My great-great-grandfather married a witch. So this is a story about a woman named Merim, who was the second wife of my great-great-grandfather. She is still remembered today for being a vile, jealous troublemaker who used all sorts of incantations, auguries, and curses to hurt and hopefully get rid of people related to her husband's first wife, including siblings, children, children's wives, etc. This story took place about 100 years ago in Tirana, Albania. 100 years ago, this country was basically still in medieval times. They got water out of wells in every house. People survived by selling basic goods to each other and the few animals they owned. This sets up that the paganistic roots of our people were still very strong. The thousands of beliefs still exist today. At the time, they were strong and practiced. So this woman, Merim, was a skilled paganistic witch or priestess. She knew more about such things than the people around her. She apparently found good inheritance in my great-great-grandfather, so she married him. Not only that, but the dude was in love with her. He always had her side no matter what she did. Maybe it was because she was a tall woman, extremely clean, a perfect housemaiden, and one of the best cooks around. Even my great-grandma and grandma learned by watching her, and she is now an absolute master in the middle of a crowded modern city. In her tiny apartment, she does her own bread, yogurt, dried vegetables, pickles, vinegar, cheese, teas, syrups, etc. Now imagine Merim and what she could do. Now let me tell you the real sinister things this woman is remembered for on my father's side of the family. She really hated the wife of my great-grandfather, her stepson. So she would do all sorts of curses on her, so she would have to leave the house. She'd do curses of ill health, fights with the head of the family, great-great-grandfather, and more. One of the most wild ones was uncovered when the young bride discovered she had been sleeping with a dried snake in her pillow for the past 2 to 3 months. The snake is a famous occult and paganistic symbol in our culture. She would also get nails from her stepson's young bride and tie them up in red strings and throw them all over the house and into the great-great-grandfather's clothes as symbolism of them fighting and tearing each other apart. Lo and behold, my great-great-grandfather ordered his first son to get his wife and never return to that house. And they never did. They slept in a barn for years and never returned to that house. They later cursed the old man that when his mind comes back, may he be blinded in real life for being blinded by that woman. Not only did he end up blind for the last decade or so of his life, but he also spent almost every day going to his son asking for forgiveness and begging him to return back home with his family. They always refused him, mentioning the curse. Another sinister curse Merim did was curse the sister of her husband's first wife. She went to a house and threw some cursed soap, they tell me, into her water well. This was discovered by another witch they paid to figure it out. She said the thing she threw into the well got dissolved in the water, just like your body will. Now, what happened to the sister was that she, one morning, couldn't move her legs anymore. She had sensation in her legs, she had feeling, but couldn't get up and walk. The doctors couldn't figure it out either, so the good old witch did a counter curse that was meant to break the first curse upon the death of its caster. The sister stayed unable to walk for about 15 years, until, you guessed it, the death of Marine. 2 days after her death, the sister walked on all fours and got better with time until she could walk properly. Now, I thought I had to share this because this is wild history never forgotten in our family. I'd love to hear your thoughts and if you ever had to deal with anything like this. I love stories like this. It's like the witchcraft is still strong in certain regions of the world. And I can imagine a family thinking, look, yeah, we've got this dark witch now, and she's basically the head of the household. What can we do? Not a lot, because she's that powerful. With the great-great-grandfather, what a horrible situation, because he's obviously blinded by love, sort of not seeing the side of all of his family members, and so they all like, okay, we're off. And then he realises, and he's kind of left with nothing. Sad. Very sad indeed. Are you ready? Or the second story. Witch's Circle. A few years back, I went camping with some of my cousins. We had always seen this circle back in the forest, which we'd been told was a witch's circle, and that they contact spirits there. We camped there a lot and had never seen anyone ever do that, so we got the great idea of taking it apart. So we did, all of 20 foot of it. The next morning, we got back up, and it was all back together. We were like, okay, Uncle Palco, nice try, but that's not going to scare us, because he always tried to terrify us camping. So back down, me and my cousin Nick went, grabbing the big black centre stone and tossing it into the rushing rapids where no one could get it. That's when stuff started going bad. The next day we went back. The stone was there and a fire burnt on top of it. We froze, knowing we messed up. We went to bed on edge that night. I woke up to my tent flap open, and he woke up to his trailer shaking and the door open. I will never touch anything like that again. You can go into that circle and there is no sound. The crickets don't chirp or anything, and deep, deep chills that go into your bones. Has anyone else experienced something like this? I also had night terrors and a sleep paralysis demon nightly after that for about 4 months. This is interesting because how many of us would have thought, okay, yeah, it's a fire pit, and move the stones? I'm not sure I would have moved them anyway because it's a fire pit and you might want to use it. But imagine we accidentally did, and it was a witch's circle. Terrifying. Put the stones back and leave it alone. Are you ready for the third story? And this story was written by Spooky Jen. Witchcraft. My mother shared this story with me a few years ago, and now I believe in black magic and witchcraft. My mother's aunt, let's call her Maria, used to have a beautiful garden. She took good care of it, and her husband had a good paying job, so she didn't have to work. A lot of women envied her beautiful home and loyal husband. My mother said that their envy grew into hate. Apparently, there were many local women who many called witches. They would read palms, give psychic readings, and even curse someone if you paid them enough. Well, one day, Maria woke up and she noticed her eyes wouldn't focus. As much as she rubbed them, she was barely able to see. As the days went on, it grew worse. After about a week, she went to see an optometrist who couldn't find anything physically wrong with her eyes. She was prescribed eye drops and sent home. The days went by and it got so worse to the point that she needed help doing very basic things now that she was losing her eyesight. Then she began to experience excruciating pain in her legs randomly. She took painkillers and then desperately went to see her doctor. They couldn't find anything wrong with her. Her hair started falling out and she began to lose her ability to walk, not to mention the barely existing eyesight. Maria had a friend named Vero who came to see her one day. As her close friends and family were aware of her situation and figured she would die soon, everything was shutting down and the doctors couldn't find anything. Vero wasn't a witch, but she was very sensitive to people. When she visited my aunt, she told her that she sensed a dark energy within her. My aunt was very skeptical of this and asked Vero not to try to convince her of witchcraft. Vero went on to tell my aunt that someone had done this to her, which is why doctors couldn't find anything. As a final attempt, my aunt asked what she should do. Vero told her to go see the witch and ask her to reveal what curse was placed upon her. Still skeptical, my aunt did as she said. What did she have to lose? She went to the other side of town, and sure enough, the witch was more than willing to tell her anything for a few pesos. She went on to tell my aunt that someone wants her dead and has placed a cursed object near her home. My aunt couldn't believe her ears. The witch told her that someone who envied her probably did this, and in order to stop this, she would have to find that object. My aunt raced home and turned her house upside down, looking for anything abnormal or bizarre. With the help of her husband, they found a frog, it's still barely alive, that was thrown into one of her pots outside in her garden. Her discovery made the hairs on the back of her neck stand up. The frog had its legs tied to each other and was blindfolded. The frog had been kicking and trying to break free, but couldn't. It wasn't completely buried in dirt. My aunt freed the frog. It hopped away, and she didn't feel better instantly, so she thought it wasn't related to her. Except the next morning, when she woke up, she was able to see and walk. She was back to her normal self. Oh, I've heard stories like this before about objects being found near or on the property where people have cursed somebody and then you've got to go and retrieve the object. It's unnerving to think that somebody could just come across onto your bit of land, bury something and curse you in that way, because how would you know until you're getting ill and it's a bit too late? Spooky. Are you ready for the fourth story? Witch-like laughs heard at night, immediately followed by activity in living room. Last night I was smoking outside at around 11 at night when I heard witch-like laughter coming from behind my yard, where cotton fields and a junkyard are. It sounded like two people were laughing, but all you heard were the laughs and no other dialogue. For the first 10 minutes of hearing it, I didn't really care, but they started getting closer. And at the end, when I began panicking, it felt like I was being laughed at. I couldn't open the gate to let the dogs back in. When I went back inside, I locked all my doors and went straight to my room and stayed in silence. The whole house felt extremely heavy for some reason. I started hearing some shuffling happening in the living room, almost like someone looking through stuff. It went on for maybe 3 minutes and suddenly just stopped. Immediately after, everything felt just fine, which was odd. All the heaviness just went away. Any idea what any of this means? Never experienced anything paranormal until the 2 bathroom mirrors started displaying some weird symbol after showering. I'll post the pictures in another post right after this. Started in my restroom first, and a few months later, appeared in the other house bathroom. Last thing, phone is extremely buggy, trying to type this. I have a new phone, and this doesn't happen at all. I mean, either way, if this was not witches in the cotton field laughing, humans doing it is scary enough. Absolutely, and what are those strange symbols on the mirrors? Are you ready for the 5th and final story? Seeing shades since beginning to practice witchcraft. I'm agnostic, but before beginning my practice, I had never experienced any kind of paranormal activity, never seen ghosts, never sensed weird energies, never even heard my name being called when no one was calling. I didn't disbelieve in ghosts, because a lack of evidence doesn't disprove anything. I was open-minded. Simply speaking, the paranormal didn't seem all too concerned with me. I guess magic attracts attention, or I've just gotten better at sensing what was already there. But since beginning my practice, I've been noticing entities, which I think are what people mean by shades, typically out of the corner of my eye, gone as quickly as they appear, and paired with a feeling of cold and discomfort. Not fear or anything, it's just uncomfortable. These beings are like shadows, but not necessarily human-shaped. Some are as small as rats, cats, or dogs. Others more humanoid, and some are even spherical. I ruled out the mundane just in case. Doctor, therapist, and carbon monoxide leaks. Nothing explains me seeing these beings. I can't see them directly, and I can't see them on purpose. They tend to appear early morning or at night, but lightning doesn't seem to make a difference. Does anyone else see these, and have you been able to successfully communicate or reach out? I'm not sure what it was about the shades being like rat-sized. I mean, I don't particularly like rats. Rats are fine. You know, you can get pet rats. We used to have pet rats when I was a kid. They're fine, but I don't like seeing rats out in the wild. I don't like seeing them running around car parks and stuff. But it's not that. That's not the reason I don't like the idea of these smaller shadow things. I don't know, there's something really giving me the heebie-jeebies about this. I guess because you wouldn't always notice as well, because you don't always have your eye level at ground level. You don't always have your eyes pointed toward the ground. I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say. And so you wouldn't necessarily see them, and they could be there all the time. Well, that's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you again tomorrow. Take care, everyone.